Live. Part 2 of Free Comic Book Day Live, Fantasy Escape Comics cards in Virginia Beach. It's the Down and Nerdy podcast.
Yes, it is. And again, I'm Nick Battaglia, the American with one arm. James is right there.
I'm James with him, and we've got somebody else with us. It's Steve.
Steve!
Look at that.
Greetings.
Steve, what's going on, buddy? Happy Free Comic Book Day, my fellow nerd.
Thank you. Just had to come out before I go home and go to bed.
Now, the reason we're making it such a huge deal, not just because Steve's a cool guy and is a big supporter of the show, normally you see him in his Deadpool costume.
Yes, or if you were at Taiwan Comic Con last year, his Moon Knight costume he busted out, which was amazing.
That was awesome.
Classic Moon Knight look.
So, I mean, I think everybody wants to know, what are you working on for this coming Tidewater Con?
I was doing Sinister.
Okay.
He's been put on hold.
Sinister's been put on hold. He's told me, the thing about Steel is he's told me what he's doing for Sinister and how it's being crafted, and it sounds amazing.
It really does. I remember when he gave us the progress photos. He was sending them to us on Facebook of his Moon Knight, so we got a little bit of a sneak peek. It turned out amazing.
Yes.
This year, though, is Jack of Hearts.
All right.
I'm going to take this mic out so everybody can hear Steve properly.
I'm tired, so. But, yeah, we're doing Jack of Hearts this year, and I've already started working on Sinister, Doom, and Taskmaster.
I can't wait to see Doom.
If you get the legit, because this guy's legit. When he does Dr. Doom, this is going to be ridiculous.
He's literally just gonna. He's Steve's the type of guy who he will literally take the hot Dr. Doom mask and put it on his face, just like in the comics.
I'm ugly, so yeah. But I found me a guy who lives in Tampa who does custom armor.
Yeah.
I'm going in October to get fitted.
You're going down to Tampa? He's going down to Tampa, Florida just to get fitted for cosplay.
Here's the cool thing about being a nerd. You know, most people get fitted for suits, like tailored suits. We get fitted for, like, costumes and armor and stuff like that. You know, it's really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait. He's doing my Sinister armor.
Yeah.
The chest piece that I'm designing. He's doing my Doom. And, yeah, I might as well. Old classic Centurion Silver Iron Man from West Coast Avengers.
Yeah.
We started talking about that.
Nice.
Not the movies, not the current. I'm 47. I'm going old school.
I can picture Steve, all the cosplays he does. It's like the opening of, DuckTales, where he's diving into a pile.
Diving into a pile of old costumes.
Costumes. There's like gauntlets just flying in the air when he dives in.
Well, I mean, how important is that, though, to not just do the new stuff, but to do some of the old stuff, especially for the kids as well, right?
Yeah, for me, I prefer a lot of the old stuff. Don't get me wrong, the new Iron Man, the new Captain America, that is great. But I like the classics. That's what I grew up with. It's a little more cheesy, comic-y, nerdy, but I like it.
But cheesy to the point where, I mean, if that's what you loved growing up, I think that's all that matters. So not just, the kids are going to run up to you no matter what costume you're wearing. If you look at anything like Iron Man, Captain America, Deadpool, anybody like that, the kids are going to run up to you no matter what.
If you look like Deadpool, I don't think you can show your face really in a lot of places.
Everyone who knows me as Deadpool. I had a guy come over to my house to do some work. He's like, looking, he's like, I know you. I know you. You were Deadpool at Tidewater Comic Con. I'm like, yeah.
Speaking of Deadpool, you retired Deadpool last year, so is like the helmet like on the mantle? Where is it?
It's getting sent back to the creator who made it for me. He's going to seal it since the co-creator of Deadpool signed it.
Yeah.
It's going to be permanently sealed, and I'm going to do a new version of Deadpool. I'm not sure if I'm doing X-Force Deadpool or the Cyclops version of Deadpool.
So, Nick, I mean, you're the Deadpool guy. Do you have a preference?
You're both good. I don't care.
So, but like I said, I've retired classic Deadpool, so you will not see him unless it's a special request for a party or a kid. But at cons, I will not wear it anymore.
Last appearance, by the way, was on our show.
Yes.
Just saying.
Just saying.
That's true. That was.
So we're forever connected, whether you like it or not, Steve.
That's true. And, of course, when at Tidewater Comic Con, I'm going to come by. Jack of Heart, you'll be the first people I talk to.
Awesome.
That's going to be awesome. Because, I mean, how many Jack of Hearts cosplays are there at San Diego Comic Con? Never mind Tidewater Comic Con, you know? So that's what I love about Steve, though. Steve's not afraid to do
characters that are outside the box.
Yeah, that are a little different. And as a matter of fact, you're part of the. I mean, some people might not know you're part of a group called Tidewater Avengers, so why don't you let anybody that might not already know about that?
Yeah, we kind of merged with Seven City Heroes. We help them out, but we still have our own. We do birthday parties, volunteer. There's a Facebook, Tidewater Avengers. If you contact us through that, if we do not have the superhero that you're looking for, we will find them for you.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And, I mean, I've seen some of the work that they do in the community, and they go out and do so many amazing things. And just the smiles on the kids' faces. I mean, that's got to be enough for you right there, right?
Oh, that's why I do it. I love it. I love it. Like, I can't. Two things I love every year: Tidewater Comic Con. I get to dress up, and Halloween. I get to turn my front yard into a graveyard.
Something tells me when you come to Steve's house, if he orders a pizza and you open the door, you're going to be opening the door to a character, not Steve.
Forget ordering pizza.
Yeah.
Steve's the type of guy where I still need to go over your house because you need to make lasagna for me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You need
I love
to.
making lasagna.
Yeah,
That's my second passion. Cosplay is my first. Hey, I gave up a Harley Davidson and tattoo so I could cosplay. My wife gave me a choice: cosplay or those.
Yeah.
You made the right choice.
You made the right choice.
Sorry. I'm sorry. He made the right choice. Especially given the quality of his costumes, he made the right choice.
Yeah, so
But
I'm like I said, I'm looking forward
I was
to this.
picturing Steve in like his kitchen dressed as Moon Knight with like a dish, like a serving dish. Just whisking.
Got to be careful around all that Italian food wearing white, though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm retired Navy, so I'm used to wearing white. I can eat lasagna, pastas,
Well,
anything, and still not spill anything.
Well, it's like we're grabbing lunch after this, so you and I. So I'm like, I'm wearing a white shirt. I wish I wore like a black shirt. or
Well,
something
think about
like
it.
that.
Moon Knight comes down upon the criminal, like, stop, I will destroy you. And the guy looks at him and is like, well, wait, what's wrong with your shirt?
Hey,
I was eating spaghetti before this.
I'm a messy eater.
Where do I get one of the shirts?
Oh, I want.
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. We're actually going to have shirts at some point.
Or you're going to have big guy shirts?
Of course.
Of course.
Real,
Of course.
Real size man, not real people.
We're going to have the real men shirts.
We'll
Don't worry about
we'll
that.
have the real men shirts.
Okay, where's the angry fat guy? I wanted to come harass him. That's the main reason I came by.
I think he's playing baseball today.
Yeah, I think he's coaching baseball today.
Okay, difference coaching and playing.
I think he does
I
both.
think it was both.
We know him.
Yeah.
He's doing both.
He's doing both.
Well, I'll let y'all finish your show. I'm going to head home to the house and get some sleep.
Of course, get some free comics, dude.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to buy some more dice for my Dungeons & Dragons, too. So
Oh, when do you do D&D?
about once a month, I got a group. We get together and we play 2nd edition.
Invite me. I want to watch.
Do you rotate
Who
as
do you
do you rotate Dungeon Masters, or do you have a guy?
We rotate. I'm one. We got another guy who does it occasionally, and our main guy, Rich, he does it most of the time.
Let me know when you're doing it, because I want to come over and maybe start playing.
We might live.
I've never played.
We might
D&D,
live
but
video
maybe
that
watch.
actually. Might live video that if
Yeah.
they're comfortable with it, and you want to do live video of that, a little live D&D on the Down and Nerdy podcast.
Maybe.
That could be interesting.
That could be
Yeah,
very
we
interesting.
usually play once a month on Sundays.
Okay.
Right now, my schedule got me shifted to weekends.
Yeah.
After the 16th, I go back to having weekends free.
Okay.
So I'll let y'all know.
Yeah. We'll come out.
Because it's fun. We get crazy. There's a couple new players on there. So we
Yeah.
play the old version from the 80s. So
Yeah, a lot of my fondest memories of D&D was when I was in college. I've said this thing a couple times on the show where there was a group of people, my group of friends I hung out with, and on Friday nights we get pizza and stuff like that, and we'd play D&D, and there was a bunch of yelling, and people walked away. It was like Monopoly, but nerdier.
Well, if you've got a good Dungeon Master, though,
Oh,
that
yeah.
makes.
oh yeah, I mean he makes it, and our combination of the team that we have, we bounce off each other. Like my character's a lawful good paladin.
Yeah.
However, he skirts the line because he's still learning. He's a
Right.
young character.
Of course.
And we have a guy who calls me on it. So, and it's funny when he calls me on it, I'm like,
Well, I'm glad you brought up D&D because, of course, we had Gene Ha on this week's show, and he talked about his friend who does D&D, Dungeon Master stuff, and he's like, oh, he picks up on what makes a good Dungeon Master is somebody who picks up on, like, the small characters. Like, if somebody says, oh, we're this housekeeper, this innkeeper, or whatever, why is he letting me in this door? Why is he letting me in this door? Oh, so this character, this place is interesting, huh? And he picks up on that, and he'll build on that. So even like he'll take a small character you supposed to just be a throw-in, and then he'll end up building on that. That's what makes a good dungeon.
we have a
dungeon master.
guy, his character's like that. He'll figure some way to involve the whole town in whatever quest we're doing.
Yeah.
We were traveling from one town to another. We killed a giant lizard. He butchered it and turned it into meat.
Hey, he used it.
He used it.
That's all that matters, man.
If you played Fallout, it's like +5 radiation, though.
Yeah. So he's pretty creative, and like I said, the dungeon master's fiance wife, she's new to the game.
Yeah.
So there's always a moment in there like, ooh. So it's always an adventure when she plays.
Excellent. So one more time before we let you go, where can we find out more information about Tidewater Avengers and what you do?
Tidewater Avengers on Facebook is the best way. Just search it once you type it in, or 7 City Heroes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for stopping by,
Thanks,
man.
Steve.
Free Comic Book Day. It's Steve.
All right, gentlemen, I'll see y'all at the con.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Steve. And we'll get those real men's shirts.
Oh, definitely.
Underway.
Definitely. We are live, Free Comic Book Day at Fantasy Escape Comics and Cards in Virginia Beach. Hopefully you're coming on down, either here if you're in the Virginia Beach area, or if you're, wherever you are across the country. That's why we're doing this live on Facebook. We want to make sure that you head out to your local shops for Free Comic Book Day, not just to get the free comics. You can buy the comics that you've been waiting for as well. Maybe you're going to pick up your poll while you're here on Free Comic Book Day, wherever you go. Today's the day to celebrate comics.
Today's the day to celebrate comics. Speaking of comics, let's get back to the comics, what you can pick up today as part of Free Comic Book Day. Now, of course, months ago, maybe even a year ago, we reviewed Attack on Titan.
Yep.
We talked about the whole series and stuff like that, and we talked about the movie. Well, Attack on Titan Anthology is now out, and if you thought that babies couldn't get any more creepier, imagine a Titan that looked like a baby.
I mean, you know how you go to somebody and you're like, oh, you have such a cute baby. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you want to be
Can
polite,
you take a baby
but
and take its insides and put it on the outside?
probably not the best. Although, I mean, having a child and knowing how they can wreak havoc, I can only imagine what a baby
So you're saying
Titan
that your
would
son
do.
is on the cover of this thing?
It very well could be. Sometimes he is that way. Sometimes he's just wreaking havoc and destroying things in his wake.
Yeah, and I think that you're looking at this, of course, with Attack on Titan. The art's pretty good. It's decent, but I think that what you look at Attack on Titan, though, it's something that, hey, if you're not into the anime, the manga yet, you want to kind of get into the more comics route because they're going that way. Yeah, pick it up. Remember, it's free. It's not going to cost you anything.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's difficult because, especially for something like Attack on Titan, you're married to a certain style.
Right.
And I get that not everybody would be into a new thing that they were doing. So I understand that, but just know that, if you want to try and reach a different audience, that sometimes you've got to make a little bit of a change. I don't think it's a drastic change. I mean, I think as long as everything kind of stays true to the story, that's all that matters, right?
Right, and you have a comic that I'm staring at right now that really piqued our interest in terms of just what it contains and the art and everything else.
Now, I'm going to be honest. This is one of the reasons why I love Free Comic Book Day.
Right.
Because you get to see comics like this. It's Lady Machina. Now, we spent a pretty good amount of time trying to find out who the publisher is.
Right.
And it's Joe Benitez, who is actually the writer of this book. This is, from all intents and purposes that we can tell here, self-published.
Self-published.
And, I mean, we haven't gotten a chance to really dive in the story yet, but I just want to show just a little bit of what you got going on in here. I mean, you want to talk about art. Check this out.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, I haven't been able to really get a chance to dive into and read the story yet, but I mean, that's the kind of stuff you're getting throughout. It's very creepy, very supernatural type stuff, and it's a female protagonist that you're talking about. It looks like there's another antagonist in here as well.
It looks really unique. Like, it's just, it feels, it's like Sleepy Hollow meets steampunk.
Yeah.
Meets just monsters.
There's an abominable snowman in here.
Yes.
Come on, like a hardcore, I wouldn't want to run into him anytime soon, abominable snowman. I mean, and it looks like I'm looking at the back of this, and they always tease stuff in these comics as well. There's another one called Wraithborn in here that looks awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, just awesome. And this is one of those things that kind of gets my wheels turning as we're doing this. Every time we start thinking about guests to come on the show, now my wheels are starting to turn and be like, Joe Benitez. Might need to give him a little chat about Lady Machina. Now, granted, we don't know what the writing's like yet, so we're going to, of course, we'll do our due diligence on that. We'll read this. Maybe we'll even talk about this coming up on episode 112.
Yeah.
Coming up as well when we recap this show. But, I mean, it looks just so amazing, and I love that. I love the fact that, you go to a comic book shop, or even if you do digital. If you do digital, you're looking at that and you're going, $4. Do I want to take a chance on this book?
Right.
But then you come in here, Free Comic Book Day, you've got nothing to lose. You have everything to gain by coming to Free Comic Book Day and trying something different. I was talking to a guy yesterday. I was up here kind of testing out, make sure the equipment worked for our broadcast.
Right.
26 years old, walked into the shop, never been to a comic book shop before in his life, ever. So I just started talking to him, who are you into, what got you into it, and he said, from watching the movies and stuff, he said even Big Bang Theory is one of the reasons he got into comics as well. Hey, it got him in the door. It got him in the door. I know you're not a fan of the show, but it got him in the door.
But whenever it does a good thing like that, it just kills me.
But what was cool is that he ended up actually picking up a couple of Wolverine trades. He was a Wolverine fan, so he went back. He wanted to go back to the beginning, basically. So he picked up, some of the stuff that talked about the Weapon X and the early days of Wolverine and stuff like that. So I kind of told him, here's what you should do. And I told him about Free Comic Book Day, and his eyes lit up. And I'm like, this is your chance, because he was kind of more of a Marvel guy,
Right.
which nothing wrong with that. But I told him, I said, this is your chance where if you really want to get back into comics or you want to get into comics,
Right.
this is your chance to, for free, try something different.
Right. And that's the thing. Is like, Free Comic Day, I like that you mentioned that he was a Marvel guy, because what I think Free Comic Day does, a lot of different publishers, Marvel, DC, Indie.
I mean, self-published.
Self-published.
I mean, come on.
You can, for somebody who, we're guys who we read everything.
Right.
You say, while we do have our allegiances to like Marvel or DC, because that's what we grew up on, we go outside the box. We read things. We read each other's stuff. Like, I read DC, you read Marvel.
Yeah, how many
versa.
times have we had a thing where, like, you need to read this and we'll just
Yeah,
trade off kind
right.
of thing? But that's what I think even shop owners will tell you that they want you to
Right.
do. I mean, Bob's standing over there. He's like, yeah, I want you to buy comics from me, obviously. But if you've got a friend you think might be into this, hand it over. And then, maybe he walks into
Right.
Fantasy Escape next week and he's like, I want to start my pull.
Right, and that's the thing is that, there's some publishers that might not be well carried or well known, but you tell somebody like Bob or shop owner, wherever you may be, and you say, I want this in my pull, they will order it for you.
Yeah. Bob's going to find it.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you that right now.
Where there's
If you're
a
in the
will,
Virginia Beach
Bob
area,
will find it.
He's going to find it. He will go to the ends of the earth, nomad
Yes.
style.
He's the Frodo of comic books.
Absolutely. Give your comics to Bob.
They are the process.
Exactly. But, I mean, there's just so many other things. We want to try and get to as many as we can. So
Yeah.
what's that you've got over there?
Well, of course, Street Fighter V is a game that's come out to some mixed reviews in terms of what it has and everything else. But Street Fighter V, the comic, however, is out right now as part of Free Comic Book Day.
I believe that Udon's the publisher on that as well, so if you're looking for the publisher.
Yes. And here's the cool thing, is that, I look at the art, and the art's pretty cool, because there are some characters in here that aren't actually in the game, and they're in the
neat.
comic. And when certain moves are done, they have like an evolution of how they're being shown, like how like forms and how they're happening, and it's really, really cool. There's a lot of characters that I grew up with. Of course, there's a lot of newer characters that I don't really know much about. But when you see, of course, like a Ryu, or you see a Sean, somebody like that, it really, really grabs your attention.
And it looks like it does have that sort of anime type manga style that it's drawn in as well, which
Yeah.
we were just talking about that.
Yeah, you look at some of the art in here, stuff like that. It's really, what's cool about it is the style is very similar to, I think, what they do in the game, and I think that's really important to them, is that it looks similar to the game, and it had the kind of same feel. So that's Street Fighter V, #1, of course, from Udon Comics, and, of course, Capcom as well. So, yeah, man, it's really, really cool. So, speaking of, going back to the kids' realm, one of the things that I've grew up watching was SpongeBob SquarePants. You have SpongeBob right there.
It was funny because when I met my wife loves cartoons, by the
Right.
way. I mean, and I don't think you should ever stop loving cartoons.
It's one of the reasons why your wife is awesome.
And one of the things that I actually didn't really know a whole lot about SpongeBob, but she watched it. So I was like, okay. So we've got the SpongeBob Freestyle Funnies that you can come get for the kids,
Yep.
or the Kid at Heart,
Yes.
anyway. And, I mean, there's a lot of good stories in here. Usually, and, I mean, I know last year when they did the SpongeBob Free Comic Book Day, I'm laughing because I'm looking at some of the art. I mean, look, it's just different. I mean, you can call it good, you can call it bad,
That's why
whatever
it's
you want
called
to call it.
Freestyle Funnies, because every story has different
it is a
art
complete
to it.
freestyle, and that's interesting. And there's your Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, by the way.
Yes.
If you're a fan of that on the
Yes.
SpongeBob show, you got a little bit of that as well. But, I mean, this is a chance where you bring your kid to a comic book shop, and they love SpongeBob. And they're not really expecting to see a SpongeBob SquarePants comic
Right.
when they walk in, and the writing's always very similar to the show. So they try and, again, like he was saying with Street Fighter, they try and keep it within the realm of the show, and they do a really good job with it. But again, that's one of those things where SpongeBob is like maybe that gateway comic to getting into stuff later on
Right,
in life.
especially with kids, because if you have a show that kids watches or whatever, for example, whether it be SpongeBob or something else they watch religiously, you can say, okay, instead of just watching the show, let's get you to read more. Let's get you going.
And that's the point.
And that's the point of a comic like a SpongeBob or something like that, or something that's kind of geared towards. Remember, there's Adventure Time comics. There's other Cartoon Network based.
We've got more
show
in here
comics.
too as well.
There's
that
more
are
as we have
for
in here
comic
as
book
well.
day.
And again, looking at this and just looking at some stuff and what they're doing, you want to talk about games. Of course, keeping the games going. Sonic. Well, he just got inducted into the Video Game Hall of Fame
Right.
along with Legends of Zelda.
Right.
And so Sonic Sampler from Archie Action, I should say, is part of Free Comic Book Day. And, you know, Sonic has been one of those guys where, and one of those characters especially, and look at that.
Oh, there's a spread.
Yeah, nice.
There's a
spread.
spread. Nice.
Sonic's been one of those characters where he hasn't, I'm going to be totally honest, he hasn't been adapted well in the modern era.
No.
They've been trying to put so many different twists on him and the fellow characters.
And we've got that movie that's still supposed to be coming out.
But that's been like in production since like 2011, I believe.
Yeah,
or
who
something
knows
like that.
on that?
But comics-wise, it's worth giving it a shot because again, it's free. It's not, you're not paying anything for it. See what it has.
Well, last year they had a Sonic Mega Man combo comic for Free Comic Book Day, but it looks like they're giving Sonic the entire spotlight this year.
Right, and I think, you know, you got Tails, and of course, I'm calling him Dr. Robotnik. I'm not calling him Eggman.
You call him what you want.
He's Dr. Robotnik. But, you know, you have what looks to be like the Chaos Emerald and stuff like that, and it's really, really in a Master Emerald, I should say. But, you know, you have these new characters, and they're introducing these new characters, and I think that the problem with Sonic being adapted is that, of course, outside the games being so bad, the newer ones, I should say, at least, it's just, there's a lot of characters in there that I think aren't fleshed out as well. I think people, when you read Sonic, you kind of want it to stay to Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, that kind of small box.
Right,
characters.
exactly. Yeah, I totally agree, and I understand why. I mean, we rag on companies all the time for not trying to create new characters, so I don't blame them for trying to go out and try and create new characters. I think that you need to try and do that, and they're going to be hit or miss, but I like the fact that they're still, you know, they're still trying. They are trying to make this work, so I understand why they're doing it. And again, this is one of those times where if you love Sonic, if you just love Sonic,
right,
you're probably going to like it anyway.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. If you like Sonic, you're more likely going to like the comic, and I mean, that's why you can probably pick it up. But again, if you're somebody who's played Sonic and you're like, it's been a while, and I want to kind of revisit it outside of playing games, Free Comic Day, come get it. Sonic Sampler from Archie Action, I should say.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And you know, speaking of comics, okay, before James shows his next comic, for those of you who haven't listened to this week's show yet, you would find out that James and I put a wager on Captain America: Civil War.
Yep.
We haven't seen it yet. I was planning on going to see it yesterday, but things happened, and I'm totally going to bypass opening weekend because, first of all, it's a 2.5-hour movie,
blame you.
and I don't want to get to the theater and be like, oh, it's sold out. But we made a bet that whoever was closest to the amount that it's projected to get now, it's projected right now, it's tracking to get maybe make $180 million.
And this is domestic, by the way.
This is domestic. So they're saying about $180 million. I said 209. You said what? 215 million. So whoever wins has to do a comic of the winner's choosing. So far, hopefully, it looks like I'm going to win this.
It looks like it.
And James is going to have to review this.
I overshot.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Grumpy Cat.
And Pokey.
And Pokey. It's the Free Comic Book Day edition. Of course, the regular run is done by Dynamite Comics, so if you are a fan of Grumpy Cat, it's just not my thing. I'm a dog guy, anyway. And I think the Grumpy Cat thing's been overdone. Just being honest, I think it should be over by now.
Even more reason why I'm having you review it, because you made me review Big Bang Theory, and I still hate you for it.
Well, but I mean, there's your art right there if you're looking for. I mean, again, it's one of those things. Again, if you've got kids or if you're a cat lover, some people just love cats.
If you want to know how much of a scar having to review Big Bang Theory was for me, for those of you who've seen Batman vs Superman, when Batman brands the people that he defeats or whatever, that's what it is. I have a Sheldon face brand in my chest. That I cannot get rid of, and it hurts. Every time I shower, I have to look at it. I'm like, oh, that's right. He was being a jerk, and he decided to torture me by having
you lost. You lost to Batman the Animated Series. It was a shirt bet, by the way.
It was a shirt bet last year.
And
I'm going to win the box office thing. That's kind of why I don't want to go. Cause
if you lose,
can you imagine
again.
if it's 209 something or whatever,
and then you lose?
Close? No, but can you imagine if we get the totals come out and mine's not spending $10, $20 to see it actually makes a difference.
It could.
And it could.
It could.
I will be so happy.
If you can't lose again.
Yeah.
You can't. You cannot lose again.
I can't. Again, I said on the show, I already lost my dignity. I can't lose anything else.
Yeah, don't do it again. I mean, maybe I overshot it. Hey, it's Civil War. I thought that it might actually, exceed expectations.
Now watch. I'm beating my chest right now. All of a sudden, Civil War, $220 million box.
It's going to make
office,
$100 million today,
right?
And then you're in trouble. But some guy that's not used to losing ever, that we are so excited is back to comics, is Bruce Lee.
Yeah, man, Bruce Lee. Of course, I want to kind of go back to the first Xbox because I love the old Bruce Lee movies, but Bruce Lee, remember there was an Xbox game. That he had as
that's
well.
right.
Bruce Lee issue 0 of Bruce Lee: The Dragon Rises, of course, from Darby Pop, is out today, and I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm thinking about maybe reviewing this on the show next week.
I mean, it looks so awesome. I mean, the art looks really good, actually.
It really, really does. And what's cool about this is just the art's cool. It has a lot of action from what we've seen. What's cool is in the beginning, too, we just have a nice little letter from Shannon Lee.
That's awesome.
And
that's so cool.
Yeah, and what's awesome is that it was kind of just like, thank you for reading this, and just how it kind of came to be, and it was created and written by Shannon Lee and Jeff Klein.
Which is great. I mean, when you've got the family involved, then you know that this is going to be a legit, true adaptation.
You had the family involved because, of course, the estate would sign off on it.
Right, but the fact that they're actually involved in it,
you know,
it's not just, hey, put our name on it, it's fine, go ahead, do what you want. We'll just make sure you're not tarnishing the legacy kind of thing. But go ahead and do it. No, she's involved in this.
And what's cool is some of the art, just some of the action scenes in this are really, really done really, really well, and they pop. You have some red in there, but there's some yellow that kind of bounces it off.
Did you just say they pop about a Darby Pop comic?
Oh God!
Yeah.
It's slowly, like a disease in the 1800s, ravishing my body. Slowly, and surely.
Yes. Love that.
So with that, you destroyed my will to live.
I thought I already did that.
You Anyways, you have a book. What do you want to talk about said book?
It's a big book. It's actually, we know about DC Rebirth. It's coming, whether you like it or not. And here is the big DC preview of the Rebirth. And I mean, all the covers are in here. Pretty much all the covers. Now, I want to try and find this. You chat about Rebirth for a little bit because I want to find that. I want to find that Birds of Prey. I want to find that Birds of Prey art.
Well, of course, DC Rebirth is something that DC is going to be rolling out, I believe, in either next month or in July.
It's going to be coming. Well, the actual Rebirth, the first big Rebirth issue is coming out a little bit later on this month.
Yeah, and pretty much what they're doing is they're saying it's not a reboot of Rebirth. So what they're doing is they're kind of introducing new angles to people. For example, Oliver Queen, Green Arrow, is going back to his social justice warrior routes, like he did when he first came out in the comics. You also have two different Green Lanterns. You're going to have Jeff Lemire, regular Green Lantern run, I believe still Hal Jordan. But then you're also going to have Green Lanterns, which actually has my interest with Jessica Cruz and Baz.
Which I think is going to be a really good book. I think I like what they're doing. But I wanted to show this Birds of Prey because if you were reading Black Canary, which we've had Brendan Fletcher and Annie Wu on before, I mean, look at the Birds of Prey comic that they're going to do here for Rebirth. And look at the art style. Very, very similar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've got Huntress in there, which, I mean, I love that new look of Huntress.
Oh, yeah.
I really love it. I like the fact that they're going to the classic costume
that's what I'm
but
saying.
with twists.
That's what I'm saying, is that I like how in comics now, especially a lot of DC comics, from what we've been seeing, they're kind of going back to the older suits and the older costumes, but they're going to be pretty much twisting them a little bit to make them a little bit more modern of a feel.
Right, and I like the fact that they're doing, this is a rebirth, but at the same time, it's like they're going back to their roots. What was popular with DC? What made people love DC Comics? And I think that's really what they want to do now. They want to go back to what people loved about DC Comics.
Right, and that's the thing is that, DC has been really, in terms of sales, but we've been seeing it's been going down in terms of sales.
Yeah, and there's no denying that. The numbers are numbers, man.
Yeah, for one reason or another. So I think that this is a way for them to say, you know what, we're going back to our roots. We're going back to what made Detective Comics so great. And, we're going to go back to our roots and just restart, rebirth everything.
Right, exactly.
And do that, and it makes sense.
And the $2.99 price tag, I think, is going to help out a great deal as well. I mean, the fact that, now granted, it's not really a true $2.99 because they're going to be bi-monthly now. So, I mean, it's going to be, you're going to get 2 comics a month instead of 1. So you're technically spending more. I know what you're trying to do, DC. I don't blame you, but this isn't truly $2.99 if you've got it in your pull. But maybe you're going to want that many.
Yeah.
There's a chance. I mean, I would spend $6 a month if the story is worth it.
Right.
Just like we complain about price points all the time on the show, but if you give me a good story, it's not going to hurt my wallet if you're going to give me something that's good.
Yeah. And speaking of something that's been good, something that's been good for a long time has been Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah.
For many decades, going all the way back, years ago, So of course, I believe there was one last year too for Doctor Who. That was Free Comic Book Day. But
Yeah, there
also,
was.
We have Doctor Who comic for Free Comic Book Day. If you want to take a look at that right
Titan's
there.
the publisher on Doctor Who.
Four
in case you didn't know.
doctors and 4 news stories.
Oh, yes.
So of course you have the current Doctor Peter Capaldi. You have David Tennant and all the other doctors from pretty much since the Moffat run started years ago. All of them are coming back, and so it's really, really cool. And it's nice to kind of see like when they kind of introduce all these different doctors and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of the cool things about
David Tennant, I said Peter Tennant, David Tennant.
One of the things that was cool about the Capaldi Doctor Who is that one of the people that works on that comic for Doctor Who, you might have seen this on Twitter, Capaldi actually read the comics and saw the comics and sent her a signed art piece by him thanking her for what she does on the comics. And how cool is that?
Right.
Even the guy playing the character says, thank you so much for the way that you portrayed me in your books and making it true. So that should tell you all you need to know about the Doctor Who books right there.
Right, and also this is from Titan Comics as well. Titan does a lot of the... Titan is kind of like what IDW does in terms of what they have for content. It's a lot of like, there are some original stories that Titan does as well, but a lot of them is like, Doctor Who, series-based stuff.
Vikings was on there. I mean, they picked up Blacklist, Independence Day, stuff like that.
Yep. So, I mean, Doctor Who is there as well. Again, you have the 4 doctors from the Moffat run, and so, if you're a big Whovian, if you're a big Doctor Who fan, it's Free Comic Book Day, go pick it up.
I mean, and that's just a sample of the stuff that they have at your local shops. I mean, there's other ones. I actually think that there is a D&D comic that you can go pick up today at Free Comic Book Day. There's just so many that you can go get, and we want you to go to your local shop. I mean, if you're not here and you can't see us at Fantasy Escape Comics and Cards in Virginia Beach, then go to your local shop wherever you are. We're glad that we were able to bring this to you. We're in Virginia Beach. You can't get here. We want to bring the show to you, and we want to do it live this time. If you're not watching this live, just keep sharing it along. If you want to, this is a good source to let people know on Free Comic Book Day what's going on. You can share this with your friends. We're showing you previews of as many of the books as possible.
Right, and what's great about Free Comic Book Day and just what we're doing today is that if you can't watch it live, if you're out doing somewhere, if you're out having fun with friends.
This is early for some people.
This is early for some people. I mean, it is a Saturday after all.
Yeah, and West Coast, I mean, again, they're not going to be up at 9 o'clock in the morning to do Free Comic Book Day.
But, again, I think that, when you look at what we do here, hey, these videos go up immediately after we're done going live.
Right.
They immediately go up to our page, so if it's 8 o'clock at night, wherever you are, whatever.
If it's
Monday, go back and watch this. And, again, we also have our regular show that we do every week. Of course, our guest this week, comic book artist and writer Gene Ha, who came on to promote his new series, May, from Dark Horse Comics, which comes out May 18th.
Right, exactly. And that's a great book. I mean, if you love fantasy style, storytelling, and art, this is art like you're never going to see.
Right, it's
book,
like,
seriously.
Right, and from what he told us in the interview, if you haven't listened to the interview yet, very Incredibles, feel to a very 3D feel.
Very inspired by Tolkien as well. So, I mean, if you're a big Lord of the Rings fan.
I don't think I've ever met a bigger Tolkien fan than Gene Ha.
He is a huge Tolkien nerd, which I love.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a fan. I thought I was a fan. This guy's a fan.
He knows,
okay?
there's some things he'll tell you in the interview. He told us in the interview that, about Tolkien that we just never expected, Yeah,
I mean, it was amazing, and you could tell that the book was inspired by those things, and I think that that's really neat that they were able to do that.
As always, our guest on next week's show, episode 112, the wonderful, the powerful Daisy from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's right, Chloe Bennett is going to be our guest on next week's show. We're so much fun to talk to her. We're going to ask her about, of course, the finale that leads up to on May the 17th. And it's going to be really, really fun, man. It's going to be really fun to talk to her.
It's going to be a 2-hour finale, so there's going to be a lot to talk about. Don't worry, it's going to be spoiler-free. We don't spoil things in our interviews, and if we do, we tell you way in advance that there are going to be spoilers involved. But we're not spoiling anything in these interviews. It's just one of those things that can get you ready and see kind of like where her mindset is and where their mindset is for coming up in the finale,
Remember, a team member is going to die.
Yeah, and we're going to ask her about that.
And we're going to ask about that. How much will it rock them? How much will it shapeshift everything? How will Civil War affect everything going forward?
Right, exactly, because, I mean, we know that when these movies come out, it has ripple effects on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we've been critical of that in the past. So we'll see how much it actually changes what's going to be going on. But before we go, I'm going to do something here.
Okay.
I'm going to take this.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a nice little panorama of what we've got going on here at Fantasy Escape Comics and Cards in Virginia Beach. Right over there, that's Michael McNaughton, who does a comic called GX. You want to find out more about GX, you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/downandnerdy as well.
Yeah, get
There's
in there,
GX right there. So, I mean, it's local guy doing his own book. Very cool stuff. So that's one of the other things I love about Free Comic. Grab that, Nick, so we can get a little bit closer shot of that GX. So that's, I mean, it's going to be it's a 6-part series, Mike?
Actually, it's a
36 issue series. So multiply what I said by 6, and that's what you're going to get. And, I mean, just great art, and of course.
I want to say something, and we have Mike here. I want to say something that's awesome. You know, last year, Mike, you were here. You were showing us, like, storyboards. You were showing us, like, how you were starting the production on this pretty much. To see this now, man, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Just to see it, I mean, this was storyboards last year when we were talking to him. Now to see it actually bound and imprint, and it's amazing. And the art, seriously.
It's just great.
It's amazing.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
you go to places like DeviantArt, and every now and then you see like Daily Deviations. You're like, wow, who's this artist? This is the kind of thing you're going to see on Free Comic Book Day. You're going to run into people at your local shops and go, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And that is the kind of book that you're going to see on Free Comic Book Day.
I mean, you know, like I said, I mean, just a year. It's amazing what a year makes. I mean, this first page right here was storyboard we were being shown.
Yeah, we saw that uncolored. It was a raw inked piece.
And to see it now and Mike here and just having the comic in my hand, dude, I'm so proud. Keep up the great work.
Oh, look at that. We get our own copy.
Thanks, Mike.
Now we're definitely feeling special here. But, I mean, this is what, if you've never been to a comic book shop before and you just happen to be looking at this is what you can kind of expect. Except, you know, way more books and way more figures because that's how Bob rolls. There's Bob. Say hi, Bob.
As you see behind Bob, you have all the different magic stuff he has.
We've got some cosplay over there as well.
Yeah.
Very nice. That's actually one of the fine folks here at Fantasy Escape Comics and Cards in Virginia Beach. We always call them the fine folks at Fantasy Escape. We do that every week when we talk about what we're reading. And hopefully what you're reading is a lot of free comics, and you're also going to your favorite comic book shop today if you're not here in the Virginia Beach area. Yeah, I just took you through a wild roller coaster through Fantasy Escape Comics and Cards in Virginia Beach because we wanted to give you a nice little panorama of what a comic book shop looks like. If you've always wanted to go into one, you're like, I don't know, comic book shops, there's a stigma attached to that.
There's a stigma
not like that.
No, there's a stigma and a smell attached to it.
Right, exactly. So, but I mean, look
here.
around, man. I mean, there's a whole, you know, it's a whole, you know, different group of people.
Yeah.
It's not your stereotypical nerd type thing. So if anybody's ever, you know, been a little bit leery of walking into a comic book shop before, this is a safe space.
This is a safe. This is a safe space.
Don't be afraid to walk into a comic book shop. Don't be afraid to talk to people in comic book shops. These people know what they're talking about.
Right.
You know,
Well,
you
for
talk to
example,
just a random
I
fan in the
was
shop,
here
you'll
picking
learn
up
some
my
stuff.
poll. I was here picking my poll last week, man, and then somebody came in like, oh, I'm just new into comics and I want to read this and what are some good comics to get into, and told them, you know, like, hey, there's some good things to get into. Told them about us. Hey, we do reviews, and you know, go to downandnerdypodcast.com because we do written reviews there too.
Yeah.
We do 4 books each week, really, if you think about it. We do 2 on the air. We do 2 that we write, and what's nice about us, you know, you go to other places and they read a review and it's like an essay.
Yeah.
Ours are a nice 3-paragraph thing. Here's our rating, here's what the plot's about, and here's what intrigues us about
Well, and the one thing we think is if you don't, in a couple paragraphs, if you don't know whether or not you want to read this book, there's nothing in another 3 paragraphs that is going to convince you.
I
You
mean,
know? And we're not
times-
going to give it away either. We don't give away the stuff in the books. We
Yeah.
want you to read the book. We just want to try and tell you whether or not you should be reading it.
Exactly. And like I said, there are times where like you can open to the first page, like, I don't want to read this, but then again, if you continue to read it, you're like, oh, it'll grab you. And then you say,
Right,
know,
exactly.
Hey, for example, there have been comics that we did recently. I think this week we had a couple of comics that were both just pickups, and we're like, give it a couple of issues. You know, something you might be interested in.
Yeah, and sometimes comics are a slow starter, especially if it's a first issue. You got to lay some groundwork,
Well,
and
not-
that can be
Well,
boring.
not every comic can be Strawberry Shortcake #1.
Well, of course not. I mean, that was man, that was a good stretch.
I
for
still
you.
loved how I didn't tell you I was reviewing that 2 weeks ago, and then I did it.
I was
you know, like-
wondering why, because you usually tell me what you're going to review, but
well,
you didn't
I
this
did,
week.
I do what people don't know.
You give me the
behind
publisher
scenes.
at least.
Well, I told you. I said, oh, I'm doing IDW this week. Okay, cool. I'm thinking about doing X-Files. Okay. And I text you again. I'm not doing X-Files. I'm doing something
Which is
different.
fine.
And I don't tell them. And I'm like, oh, it's Strawberry Shortcake. And it was delicious.
I mean, it's not as no. We can't drop that joke because it won't make any sense.
It won't
yet.
make any sense
Well,
yet.
it'll make sense. Well, there'll be a joke that'll be a running joke once you hear our interview
Oh,
with Chloe
yes.
Bennett. Okay, so just prepare yourself for that. But I mean, we're only going to go an hour. We went clearly over an hour, but
Yeah.
I mean that's what happens when you hear it.
My voice is starting to hurt.
Free Comic Book Day. We're live, Fantasy Escape Comics and Cards of Virginia Beach. If you're not watching this live, be sure to share it with your friends because this is telling you all about Free Comic Book Day. We want you to find out all about. Of course, we got Mike Wedmer behind us as well. he's doing his airbrushing technique type stuff. You can kind of get there's Luke Cage right there. Look at that Luke Cage.
But here, I want to show him this. I want to show him the Civil War piece he did.
Yeah, show the Civil War piece,
That,
which is actually part of the raffle today.
Scarlet Witch.
Which, if you're in the area, I mean, he's gonna be here all day. So if you're in the area, that's something you can come get the raffle ticket for, kind of thing.
Here as well, too.
All that's my DC section right there.
Yeah, this is
a little bit of Marvel up top, though.
This is everything James has bought so far.
There's even magic figures up there, by the way.
I know you got some pops, you got some everything else.
If you didn't know there were magic figures, there are.
Right.
So just keep that in mind.
Right. And so, again, come down to Fantasy Escape, come down to a local comic book shop, support your local shops, because, I mean, they do great things like this. They do great things like Free Comic Book Day to help get people into comics and get younger people into comics and just reading. Because it's important to read and just build your imagination. In comics, there's no better books that do that than comic books.
Right, exactly. And honestly, the first ever live broadcast we did was a live broadcast from right here at Fantasy Escape 2 years ago.
The first person that believed in us when we were starting this thing and he wanted to get behind it was Bob. So again, big thanks to him for just everything.
Yeah, and the reasons you support your local shops because there's good people here.
And support local people like us.
Yeah, and these are local businesses that really not just here at Fantasy Escape but all over the country that need your support. And this is one of those days where you can get into it and start throwing your support behind. It's not just support for the comics world, but for local business as well. Bigger picture here, support local businesses because there are really good people here, and you can actually find out the stories of the people that are at your local shops and even the customers as well, because there's a lot of good people, not just that run these places, but come into these places as well.
Exactly. I think it's time we wrap up. We're almost at 1:30 right now. We've gone over an hour.
I mean, hopefully you enjoyed our live broadcast. If you got a chance to check it out live, if you didn't, hopefully you're enjoying this after the fact, and maybe it's still Free Comic Book Day where you are, so head on out wherever you go.
I know you're watching us on Facebook.com/DownNerdy, but hey, stay tuned to Facebook.com/DownNerdy. That's where we have a lot of our news stories we put up every day and everything else. A lot of great information. We put up our reviews and our shows as well. Don't forget, Chloe Bennett is going to be next week. Our guest this week, of course, is Gene Ha. That episode 111, is up. We also discuss Houdini and Doyle from Fox. We gave our reviews on that. Of course, 2 new comic reviews we did, and some really cool nerd news. We talk about Mask getting a comic book reboot that James is really excited about because they haven't been around since the 80s.
Talking about trying to save Supergirl.
Yep, Supergirl maybe moving to CW. We talk about that, and of course, Punisher getting his own Netflix series and more. So tune into episode 111. It's available right now on our Facebook page, facebook.com/DownNerdy. Also on our website, downnerdypodcast.com. You can also hit us up on Twitter at DownNerdy757. I'm at Merc with one arm, Mr. Witham.
I'm at James Ace Witham. That's Witham. And, I mean, we're on Instagram at DownNerdy757. We'll be taking a couple pictures before we leave here, putting those up on our Instagram as well. So, but, again, the best source to find out everywhere that we're doing our stuff. And you can subscribe to us on iTunes, on Google Play, on SoundCloud. You go to downnerdypodcast.com. You get all of that information.
Exactly. And with that, I leave you with the same words I do as every podcast and broadcast. Price safe comic book reading. Always back on board your comics nerds. And, hey, come down, support your local comic shops.